Afrika Writes Workshop debuts in Abuja with a keynote speech by Professor Odenta O. Odenta. The Afrika Writes Workshop, curated by the ebullient writer, poet, and a dramatist, OKO OWI OCHO AFRIKA, debuted in Abuja on Saturday, 8th of October 2022 at the Glass Residence, Jabi, Abuja, founded in 2019. Previous edition of the workshop had been held in Makurdi, the state capital of Benue State. Speaking about the inspiration behind the workshop, the founder, OKO OWI OCHO AFRIKA, said that he had conceived the workshop in celebration of his birthday as means of giving back to the society. He said that he used the workshop to offer free creative writing training for young and inspiring writers.
Because we had this conversation that most young people, their writings were about grief. So from the whole research and everything, I also discovered that we are not talking about the writing of the contemporary writers enough. In the history of Nigerian literature, the Jabi and Co, fortunately for them, since they were, of course, the beginning, they started the whole writing and all of that. The conversation were there on their writing. The Ni Oshundari or Jabi and Audio generation. There was also the discussion about their writing, how they broke away from the first generation, how they were the Marxists and all of that. Unfortunately, the third generation, who are mostly the professors in the classroom right now, they are also teaching their own writing. They are recommending writing by their own mates and all of that in the class. They are talking about them. But in places where we talk about most younger writers who are mostly in their 30s downward, where they are written about, they are often this derogatory term ascribed to them, like the suicide generation, the lost generation, and all of those dismissive terms without practically engaging their writing.
The 3-day event usually culminates in a keynote address, often delivered by a renowned scholar or writer. He said it was in keeping with the tradition that the grand finale of the 2022 edition of the workshop featured a keynote address by the famous writer and scholar Professor Odenta O. Odenta, who delivered a profound paper on the theme Times and Trends.
I will categorize time as defined by OED, or QED, OED is Oxford English Dictionary. Indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So there's a combination of the past, present, and future. And it's indefinite because it is timeless. We don't know when the earth will stop. And until it stops, time is indefinite. And there's progress in this time movement. And I'm sure trend will be built into each time sequences or shifts. That's why it is equally defines trend as a general direction in which something is developing or changing. A general direction in which something is developing or changing. It could be fashion, as simple as fashion. It could be tasty music, pop culture, or even elite culture. It could be philosophical direction. It could be politics. It could be history of thought. All these things are trends built into time. So you see what time is and you see what trend is.
It also featured panel discussion and spoken word performance. While delivering the keynote address, Professor Odenta or Odenta, who is the director of the Center for Alternative Politics and Perspectives and Strategy, CAPS, noted that every period in history is defined by an aura of dominance, which gives rise to the clear demarcation of who is dominant and who is dominated. In his reaction to the question of the migration abroad by Nigerian creatives and the eventual canonization by the West and its implication for the country, Professor Odenta quipped that Nigerian creatives are driven abroad by economic consideration and not necessarily because of the political reasons or failure of system, like often claimed once they go abroad. He described them as economic refugees who left their motherland in search of a better life. The event featured two panel sections. The first panel discussion included Richard Ali, Dr. Ola Ifatimehim, and OKO OWI OCHO AFRIKA. The second panel included Salamatu Sule Biachi, Anointing Ndidi, and Star Okpe, while the first panelist talked about the trends and generational politics of Nigerian literature.
What are the things that inspire us into writing? And then where is the demarcation between Europe, for instance, and Africa, when you have an entire generation that lives on the internet? At what point are they Africans? At what point are they Europeans? You know, these are people who spend most of their times on the internet. And the pervasive culture, the super culture of the internet, in terms of ideology, in terms of modes of communication, is European. So the Gen Z, for instance, are only Africans when they step out of their homes.
Yeah.
Yes. But most of the time they are on the internet, it is what happens in Europe that they project as the reality that they should have. So when they go out and they see that it is not the life of luxury of everything El Dorado that they see on the internet that exists out there, they have to burst into tears, most of them through creative expressions, others through other means, drugs, addiction. But the traumatizing, ironic sincerity of the fact that what exists in their minds, shaped by the internet that they are exposed to, is different from the realities around them.
And its many debates, the second panelist looked at the progress of female writers in Nigeria and the challenges that confront. They observed that many female writers, especially those in the northern part of Nigeria, are not really known. Therefore, they stressed the need for more deliberate visibility for female writers.
So this is a problem. And talking about female voices in literature, you also find out that a lot of the female writers don't get, so northern female writers are not really known.
Yeah.
You have a lot, when you talk about female writers, you can have a lot of names from the East, a lot of names from the West, from the South, but it's limited when it comes to the North. And I don't know why this is, but I also think that it's coming back to the digital age and the internet thing. Most of these northern female writers are not spending a lot of time on the internet. Spoken word poets softened the atmosphere with beautiful performances. It was a memorable event filled with banter and laughter.
We all know in this country, pain and misery are things that we brag about. You easily find two people arguing on who has suffered the most, and one goes, "Oh boy, if you know the kind of suffer where I don't suffer for this life," and the other goes, "Stop, forget that thing. You never suffer reach half the suffer where I don't suffer."
The event was attended by established and aspiring writers, including the former president of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Danger Abdullahi, the publisher, author, and the former public relations officer not of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Richard Ali, and the poet critics, Paul Liam, Dr. Ola Ifatimehim of the Department of Theatre Art, Bayero University, Kano, Salamatu Sule, art curator and administrator, and Star Okpe, Biachi Ndidi, and a host of others. And that's the report we have for you at this moment. Please do share this story. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. My name is Idajo Aja.